Hello, everybody. It's Tech here. Let's jump into it. I guess first is an announcement. If you're out there and you don't already follow Below the Stone and want to be part of their giveaway tonight, they're saying they're going to start that in about an hour. So go check out their Discord, go check out their Twitch channel, and be part of that. Yeah, so it's cool, Andrew, right? I mean, you're still dealing with it. Congratulations to you for that, right? I mean, if he's not there, he's not there. Maybe something happened. Hopefully nothing serious, right? But maybe he's tied up with stuff. Or maybe he's actually sleeping for once, because I think that man doesn't sleep. But let's jump into what I did offline. Where is it here? The Desert Dungeon. After I started or stopped streaming last night, went to bed. I was laying in bed and I'm like, I just had an epiphany of how to accomplish something that I thought was going to be complicated in a very, very simplistic way. And that's what I want to show off here first, right? So I wanted a way to allow for multiples of a given action to occur and have to all be triggered before we could give the player a reward. So that's a complicated way of saying when you kill all the mobs in a room, the door opens. Or when you light all of those torches that we were doing yesterday with the arrows, right? So you could light one torch from another torch. When you light all the torches in there, because maybe there's 3 or 4 of those in a room, the door opens, a secret's revealed, a treasure chest opens, something like that. How am I going to accomplish that, right? And this system will work with any of those scenarios without having special coding. It's a multi-action receiver is what I'm calling it, right? So on this multi-action receiver, all you need to do is define what your action is that should occur. And then on all of your elements that you want to be called as part of this, you need to set up 2 scripts that communicate to the multi-action receiver, or 2 actions that need to communicate with it, right? Your first one would be your registration, and in this case, it's a startup event, right? So I put in my startup event of my enemy AI, the ability to call a register event, right? And that just says +1 inside the multi-action receiver. And then on its death, it says unregister. And it's that simple. Like, I'm probably not even explaining it good enough because it's so simple of a way of doing it. So let me show you with the code now how it's accomplished. And I love it when I have these like epiphanies when I'm not even trying to code and I'm offline, and just all of a sudden the most complex thing I have in my mind becomes the simplest thing in my mind, and it's a solution that not only solves one thing, which is what I was originally thinking was the monster. It solves for any type of thing that I can have multiples of. So in my startup, let me find my start here. All I have to do is first, register the events that I want. So I start up in this case and death in this case. I know it's the best time sometimes. And all I have to do is just say startup action invoke. And I'm just calling that registry event, which increases the multi-action receiver by 1. So let's go in here. And it's got a count transmitters. So every time one's registered, it increments it. Every time one is unregistered, it decrements it. Once it hits 0, it triggers the all transmitters triggered event. Boom, done. So in like what, a dozen lines of code between the mobs and the multi-action receiver, I was able to set up a system that's flexible enough where I can say when all of the monsters in this room are dead and when all of the torches are lit in this room are dead, then open the door. Or I could say then activate slide the wall back, right? It's completely flexible in that way. It doesn't depend on one thing or another. That's what I love about it. Like, as long as I can say somewhere in my code, register and unregister through these Unity actions, which is completely GUI interface driven, then I can trigger this and set this up however I like. Thank you, Andrew, for that in your Discord. I've always loved like this ability inside Unity. When I figured this out, I was just so excited about it a long time ago that you can set up something that's an event, right, and plug it in. It's almost like an old school operator where they got the cords, right, and you're just going from here to here. This should connect together, and it works. So, all that said, let's go into the game. I don't know if I got my right scene to play, but we'll find out here. Go ahead, Gotta get dinner now. I'll keep watching the stream. Glad you figured something out. Okay. Yeah, you want to be ready for the stream, especially if you're gonna do it solo. Got him. Okay, so I'm gonna go into that area and demonstrate this capability, right? That's what I'm going to. Okay, so we've got the two mobs. Oh crap, they both hit me. So I'm gonna go down here. You can see the door is shut. See if I get the mobs down here with me. They might be stuck on that corner. And we got him. The door is still shut. And now that they're both dead, the door is open. It probably doesn't translate like how complex my brain was originally making that be, right? I was gonna make it so that like all the monsters in the room had to figure out how many there were in the room and then talk to each other and figure out when they all were dead. Blah. We just made them count, right? That's so much better. Okay, so that was one thing. Let's go to always loadable. I started work on it and it's very, very incomplete. I go focus on this. I've started, designing out what the inventory screen is going to start to look like, right? So I've got the frame for it, basically. It's got a nice dark shaded background that'll appear, basically, and the yellow border. What else did I do? I don't know if I even made a commit this morning. Like, I was so into that one thing. Let's see, 11 hours ago, so I created the multi-action thing. The flaming arrow we did last night, so that must have been it. And then whatever I changed here. Oh, I figured out formatting. Yes. So we were talking formatting stuff a little bit yesterday, right? And now, let's say I did something silly like this, and then saved. It auto-formats it for me. And that's important for me because I use Git, and I want to make sure that I'm squishing all the additional changes that are necessary. So after an initial commit of everything using this, formatting, it should all be consistent now. And I think, if I remember right, I also got an extension for removing blank lines on save too. So when you save it, if there's like 3 blank lines like that, as soon as I save it, they all collapse down and get rid of those extra lines. So nice to have. Some people like their extra lines. I'm kind of on the fence about it, but I was more concerned with let's not introduce extra commits that aren't necessary. So let's go ahead and make a commit here real quick. Format on save and inventory. Inventory. Screen started. Okay, let's commit this. Let's pull up Trello. Okay. So here is my Trello board. So we've got inventory screen at the top. That's what I was just starting it on a little bit. I don't know how far I'm going to take that tonight. Rooms, room doors lock on entry. I'm not even sure if this is needed now that I've done this multi-action receiver thing. We could just keep it locked and unlock it when that happens, right? We've kind of figured out the puzzle for that one. Desert transition tiles. Okay, let's do inventory screen then. Jeez, there's not much left on my to-do list. And of course, there's a lot of things that aren't on my to-do list, like building out the rest of the dungeon, building the forest area, the winter area, etc. Some of the conversations I was having with the guys the other night are still right around the back of my head about art and stuff. So I'm not sure how much I want to invest into building areas versus building code right now. So I'm going to build code. Y'all got me second guessing myself. So I'm going to create a UI interface thing and gosh, what's it called? There is some grid thing that I want in here. Gosh, is it just another panel with a grid component on it? Grid layout group? There we go. And this grid layout group, fixed column count. Not third guessing yourself? Well, yeah. I was very not guessing myself at all last night. Or before last night, I should say. And welcome, ML development. So we can do like padding of, I don't know, 4. And I hit 3. Each one. Do I need to do a grid layout inside of a grid layout for this to work? But if I do another canvas like this, or panel, it's going to be more transparent unless I change the transparency on it. I want you to be all the way like that. I'm going to duplicate you. I'll make you a child. Oh, I don't. How does this work? Let's just leave it flexible. I don't really care how they're arranged row by row and all that stuff. Let's do that. And I think that forces everything that's a child of this to be in line. So we're going to need a UI, either a button or an image to carry the pixel or the image of the object itself. If I do it as a button, it's already going to be set up with different states on it. I would like to put a border around it to indicate that it's the active one when it's active. Let's try it with buttons first, because that's also going to have text, right? Okay, so my thing is not filling up its parent. Why? There we go. So now if I do another one, create, I should just be able to duplicate it. So that's how it's going to lay it out. Now, what happens if I change this? Guess first off, what happens if I go 3 instead? 2? Not much, okay. Let's try 5. So what I'm trying to do here is space them in a way that they fill up the space. Might have to go quite a bit bigger. There we go. It's going good, man. Did you see the pineapple related thing that I put into the Discord, man? Hey, Tim. Thank you for the raid, man. Black Canvas Syndrome. Hello. I just thought it was silly, right? I woke up this morning and it just happened to be pineapple related on the Unity Discord. They go on blub 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 or whatever it was. Hello, everyone. The raid has arrived. My Stream Deck or Streamlabs thing has never told me there's a raid for about all of this month. Oh, did you? Okay. So Tim, like, if you're there watching, I've just recently started watching your stuff on YouTube. Right as I started doing Twitch dev streams, right? And I don't know, I just happened to notice you were streaming this today. So just a coincidence. Like, I didn't follow from your YouTube channel to your Twitch or the other way around. I just happened to find both around the same time. YouTube recommended you to me. The spacing is getting kind of big, but they're buttons, right? So 19 days from launch, streaming 6 days a week till finish. Ouch. Yeah. That spider you had on the screen earlier was pretty cool. I couldn't stay for very long because of the time of when it was, but it looked cool. Did you get your bug fixed where the web was capturing you at the same time that the little spider was getting you, and you could move after the... Or you could move or couldn't move? I can't remember. Yeah, it was a bug with the movement after that. Awesome. Awesome that you're able to fix that. And it looks like below the Stone Dev is finally around, and they're starting their stream now. So if anybody was interested in that, you guys are welcome to switch over. I'm not going to be offended. I will keep going for a little bit longer, I think, while I work out my layout here. So we're going to have... That's the sprite image, right? And the button image. You too, Tim. Thanks for the raid, man. So we're going to have that single color. We can have a highlight color too, which, let's say we set this to, say, yellow. So one of them going to be highlighted then. Automatically. Probably not. Navigation, automatic, explicit. Visualize. So that's the flow between them, right? So let's grab one of our random items just for testing for now. Let's say the coin, right? I don't know. Why can't I drag that in? What? Try to get... Oh, it's this. Okay. So that wants the spray up there. Oh, horribly stretched for what I want. But we could fix that in the grid object, right? So if we did 64 by 64, they become much more reasonably sized. It's just there's way too many of them now. That's not too bad. That's not too bad with the number of items that I have in mind. And I don't have a specific set. I just know it's going to be more than a dozen, probably less than 2 dozen. And that looks pretty nice for a layout for what I was thinking. How can I indicate which one's going to be the highlighted one always, though? I know there's this... Actually, let's just do this. Let's grab the next button down. We'll set it as a key, even though the key doesn't really make sense. Let's grab what else we got. Arrows. Oops. Just trying to fill it out with some images that I have right now. Oh, that's squishing it funny. Ouch. That doesn't really help at all. Preserve aspect ratio does. Okay, we can deal with that. Really? Sometimes Unity's good at like setting multiple properties, and sometimes it's a pain across multiple things. Oh, those don't even have it yet because they're not an official image. Okay. That's the scorpion pieces. Let's grab from over in the character stuff. There we go. Let's grab the different weapons, right? Where are they? They're there. So bow. Let's put that as one. And preserve aspect ratio. Secondary bow. That bow looks sick compared to that one. And this one? There we go. This is making them look... All of these look really good in here. This looks like poop, and so does this. But that's my fault. Oh, which one was that? So we need to go to 12. And I was right about the dozen or so. And these are just the stock ones that I've got, right? I've got to add a bunch more others that I needed to do. And maybe even we set up armor, maybe? I don't know. Let's see how that plays out. But let's save this. Let's go ahead and run this. We're going to go into the game. I'm just going to bring up the screen. It's nice and fat and wide right here, right? Because of the auto layout nature of it. If I go like this and resize my Unity window, it does and should dynamically rearrange. That's nice. It's as small as it'll let me go. It still fits on the screen. If I go small this way, we start going off the screen, but anyone that's playing on that small of a screen probably gonna have other problems in my game. It's a step in the right direction. And unfortunately, everyone watching, I'm kind of winging it right now on, on the UI stuff. I don't have this planned out like I should. But I'm liking what I'm seeing as far as those items actually being in the inventory. So I would need some type of image to indicate that, you know, this weapon is your primary and say this is your secondary. So two different colors, and maybe some type of explanation of that somewhere on the screen. That, you know, the blue and the red are the primary and secondary items you have selected. Yeah. I did hear Mike's online. I wanted to try to get to this point where I had this stuff up and going. Okay, Andrew. I'll probably stream for a little longer and then send people over your way if they haven't already. And I'll probably watch myself. Thank you, Blank Cavins. I will say the art is the majority of the art, not all of it, is from the Unity Asset Store. Probably just do code until later. Oh, okay. You're not gonna do the giveaway thing? Or are you still gonna do it? Just gonna do it later on? That makes sense if you're gonna do that. Okay, cool. There is some of the art, like this desert tile, these stone bricky ones that I've created, the key, the heart. So I am building stuff for it. At least for now, it'll use these textures. Like that skeleton's mine. He's only a half work in progress, so I need to fix him up more. Oh, I died. Dang. So I was going to show that if you kill both of these guys, it then unlocks the store. But that's okay. How can I make that button feel not so blocky? Make it a bigger image? Or not the button, the coin. Also need to work out how the text is going to work out for each of these. Like, should it be beneath it? And it's going to have some other coloring, right? And then we'll need the frame image that I was talking about as well. Thank you, Blank Canvas. I'm trying to make it fun. Like, that's... The looks are one thing. And I paid money to get the looks, right? But the gameplay, I want to make sure it's fun, right? And I wasn't happy with it until probably maybe 5 days ago when I just sat down and said, okay, this game needs to feel like you're doing attacks and being attacked, right? And the knockback that I put on them, the playing the hurt animation and doing a red flash on them really bumped up the level of immersion in a 2D game, if you can say that even, right? And then tightening up the controls. The Unity control system was a bit wonky. So I'm using WASD's control it or arrow keys right now. It should work with a controller too, like if you had an Xbox controller. But that stuff, the defaults, basically it goes from 0 to 1, a floating point number from 0 to 1. When you're pushing the button, it's 1. When you're not, it's 0. But it slowly decreases that value over time. It might be 5 frames it decreases it over, but having it decrease it instead of as soon as you let your finger off that button, zeroing it out, made a big difference in the feel of how responsive the game was. So how am I gonna do? First off, let's get this coin, see if I can get it to look better. Hey, thank you for the follow, Philip. Philippi. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name awful. I'm bad at that. Does that help or does that make it worse? Or does it make a difference at all? Do one more. Save. Why can't I save this? File save. There we go. Let's go into the game and look at that coin, see if it helped. Basically, I'm putting a blur effect on it to smooth the jagged edge of it. Almost looks like it did, didn't it? And that's pretty big for the coin. I don't plan on displaying it that big anyway, really. Name is Greek, so it could be hard for English speakers. Oh, okay. I really zoom in on it. That's what it looks like. That was the original. Oh, that looks 10 times worse. So let's go back to what I just did. Control Shift. Oops. Control S. Yeah, I think that's what I want. And this is extremely zoomed in too right now, so. Hey, thank you for the follow, 2D Realms. Appreciate it. Can I open all these up and apply all the text objects at the same time to tell them to go beneath the button, basically, because that's really what I want. If I go like this, where do they shift off to? They just go to the bottom of the button. That could work. Didn't consider that. I guess it's probably because they're a child of the button itself. D-word. D-word, I've seen you somewhere else before. What's wrong with the village? What do you mean? I changed up the village last night. Oh, my stream title says fixing the village. That was from yesterday. I didn't change it. So yesterday, the village had... Let's show you. When I get into the village, there was all sorts of objects like this that somehow the tile set or tile map had split them. Like they were beside each other on the tile map, but there was a gap between them. So there was that. There was tree stumps that did it. There were trees that did it. And I just went through and fixed all that stuff. I also went through and made things like this hay bale so that you can be behind it or you can be in front of it. Because now they're game objects instead of tile maps. And same thing with the wheat. So it seems natural now. Before it was just weird. You'd always walk over top of everything. Some of the other things that I did is I changed this top half of the village. It had a bunch of just randomly placed trees that were not fitting the feel and transition to the next biome. We work on some kind of attack code and the guard got stuck inside the house past the collisions. Yes. I figured out what that was too. That was Unity's rigid body changing it from discrete to continuous. Fix that. So some better trees over there. I got the river over here now. There's a transition off to what will be another scene. And right now, if I go there, it's just going to take me to the desert because I haven't coded with that scene yet. So basically, cleaning up the borders, fixing a few bugs here and there that I've seen in the different objects in the tile set was really what I was going for when I was fixing the village. I got tired of looking at everything that was there as placeholders and test code. And then I went and put more test code in here because yesterday we set this up where you can shoot an arrow over one flame. It lights the arrow on fire and then lights another fire pit on fire. I haven't made it so that it does more damage to the enemies yet. I might do that. I might set them on fire. I don't know. Could be an interesting mechanic, right? If an enemy's on fire. So this text, if I take and make this a different color, does that help? I'm actually having the same basic problem with my flying AI. It's getting stuck in obstacles. Okay. Give me a sec here, I'll show you what I did. It may or may not be your bug, but it's worth a shot. Okay, so set all those to white. You can't see it on that on the ones that are just buttons now, but that's okay. Save. What happens? Well, let me show you what I did first. So if I go to the overworld scene and go to my knight. So on him, there is a rigid body and it was set to discrete. And when there's a discrete rigid body that you're applying forces to, there's a chance if you're making the move quick enough that they will get right through another collision or collider. So this house, for example, has colliders in it, and when I would shoot him in this direction, he would get knockback on him, and that knockback would force him right through the edge of this collider because he was moving so fast. And then once he was in there, he would freak out and not move. So my solution to it was to set him on continuous, and then I had to adjust things when I did that. It seemed like it behaved differently in regards to physics, right? I needed to change his mass and his linear drag, which is also part of just fixing how he responds to that knockback, right? But yeah, that was really what it was about. Mine's being done in Godot in 3D. Might the basic fix be the same? 2D versus 3D shouldn't matter. I know Unity uses the PhysX engine, I believe, for its physics. So if Godot uses that, I'm not familiar with Godot. If Godot uses it, then it might be the same. It's really dependent on how they set that up, I guess. Bullet. Okay, I would say read up on the Bullet engine and see how it's doing collision detection, basically, and whether or not it's determining. So what would happen was, at the start of the frame, you'd be here, and at the end of the frame, you'd be over here, and the collider was in between. So from the physics engine's standpoint, it moves so fast, it didn't even get a chance to detect that it moved through the collider. And doing it through continuous, it basically does a calculation on the CPU to see if it's going through the collider every frame. I don't know how it works behind the scene, but I imagine it's probably something like a raycast. Oh, okay. Yeah, I've seen a thing with Unity has been used in PhysX, but they updated it to a newer version of it that's going to fix a lot of bugs similar to this, but they're more around rotation. Cool. I'm glad I was able to help you, at least point you in the right direction. Hopefully it works. Because like I said, I've never used Godot before. Make sure my AI map is everywhere. I think it is. Yeah, it looks like it's good. Okay. That's interesting. I don't have my confiner set up to allow you to see this, but you could walk out there. It's only one block, though. Back to the UI for a second. Zoom way out so we can see it. So what would happen if I disable, say, the buttons that don't have an image on them? Is it going to fill all the space? It is not, and that's okay. So what happens if I disable one in the middle? That's what I want. So basically what I'm going to do in my code then at some point is set up each one of these buttons tied to a specific object. And if the player has that object in their inventory, so the sword, let's say, then this button will get activated when you push your inventory button to show this screen. And if it's not, it's going to deactivate that button so that you can't see it, you can't click on it, you can't interact with it at all, right? That's all there is to do. Hi, Scooty. Scooty? Is that how you say it? How's it going? Okay. So what happens when I go to that screen? Start. Hit this, and use my arrow keys. Nothing. There's no visual... Wait. There is a visual indication. It's very, very, very faint. Okay, let's see if we can change how faint that is, I guess. the pressed color, the highlighted color. Set the yellow for that one. And only that one. Set it to yellow for all of them. And then go through this and see if we can see it then. No, there's no real change. Oh, it's on mouse over it's doing it. Ah. It's not on the arrow keys. I'm okay with that, but I would like some inventories to be accessible that way, right? Is there any way? No. Come back to Unity, please. Pressed color, disabled color, normal color. Yeah. Action adventure, but RPG fits too. So, inspired by Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Is the easiest way to describe what I'm going for. Not that I really like describing it that way, but it's the easiest way. Select on up. Ooh. I think automatic is okay though. What do you do? So I'm pretty knowledgeable about everything in Unity except for some of the UI stuff. I've used everything else quite a bit, it seems. The UI stuff has kind of puzzled me for a while. Oh, that's what happened. Button script got collapsed. Okay. Could edit it, but I don't want to. And the click, I just don't think this is going to do what I want. Right? So, click is one thing. But I need to know... I need the player to be able to select two things, basically, right? Their left and their right. For primary and secondary weapons. What if we did a raw image instead then? Okay, that's what it would look like. Let's go ahead and deactivate all of these for now. There's my raw image. I'm going to duplicate you a bunch. Okay, so we can get the spacing right. Texture-wise, I'm sure we can get that to work as well. So if we made this one... Oh, it's got to be an actual texture, not a... Right? There we go. Can't say preserve the aspect ratio with this is easy. We'd have to do it some other way. Really, shrinking it down has no... There's really no way to do it inside this then. What if I did it inside the image? Can you say how you stretch? Don't think you can. Nope. So that pretty much takes images out of it, and buttons are probably our best bet. Unless we say it's a canvas object and add a sprite renderer to that. Say that's the sprite. Draw mode simple. Sorting layer, mask interaction. No difference really. And what about another panel then? Panel would allow us to add other things to it, and this does allow us to preserve the aspect ratio. You can set the color as needed. Oops. Went full alpha. There we go. Visually it looks okay. We did this though, that means we're going to have the image or the text be basically part of this as well. I'm starting to think button's the best way. So we have those. We've got the text that we could set to say coin, but a key, etc. Oh, coin. And say if we did like 10 beneath it to indicate how many you had. And not all of these are really going to be valuable to use as a primary or secondary as well. So maybe some of these need to be split off onto another section of the inventory screen. Right? Because you'll have X number of coins, X number of keys, X number of arrows, but you'll only ever have one of this type of bow versus this type of bow. Same for all the weapons, basically. You'll only ever have one of them. But it's just a matter of do you have it or not, and which primary or secondary thing is it used for. Maybe I could drag them. So let's say, let's me visualize this out somehow. Let's get rid of that pause panel, the sign panel. Background. There we go. So now if I take this into snipping tool like this, copy that and go into trusty Photoshop, I guess. File new. Oops, test. Paste this in. So like if we took this breaker bar and copied it, pasted it in as its own thing, transformed it down to say there, and then took these come on, whoa, and move them like to here or something like this, right? And then magic wand that, grab that G, other G tool, go. Our key tool. Don't save. Just hit the wrong button. Something along this lines, right? And then that also could let me... Sorry, my kid's school is calling. My wife also just sent me a message saying they just called her, and there's a 2-hour delay for the kids. Turn my sounds up so I can hear if she messages me again, because I should always have my sounds on. There we go. So yeah, so something like this might work, where we've got basically 2 panels built up in here, and the top panel shows your count or integer-based inventory. Right, I think we have multiples of a given thing, and the bottom is your weapons and things like that. That's starting to make more sense to me. What I'll probably have to do in this scenario, though, if I define it in a set area like this, is make it so it's scrollable. Not sure how I can do that in Unity off the top of my head. I need to do some tutorials for that. So this might be a good time for us to go ahead and break for tonight. If you're new here, I normally stream much longer than this, but tonight's kind of a special night for one of our fellow developer streamers, right? They are celebrating their getting affiliate status on Twitch, and getting to the 50 follower mark, right? So they are going to have a special giveaway. So let's go ahead and raid them. Make sure we share some love over there. So I will catch you guys all next time, and we are going to raid Below the Stone Dev. Follow if you like me. Bye, guys.